how to position ourselves for our leadership influence to actually deliver the value that is inside of us. Now, let me begin by saying that the goal of every human being is to become themselves, which is to become the leader they are born to be. Now, when I make this statement, most people will say, I'm not interested in becoming a leader. All I want is just to have a good time, to have a good life. But I can say this, that if I come to you and I talk to you in a very rough manner, something inside of you will rise up and say, how dare you? If someone infringes on your right, something inside of you will want to seek redress and say, look, I'm not having that. Now, this impact is proof of something that is inside every one of us, and that is the fact that every one of us has something deep inside that does not want to be trampled upon. Everyone has something inside of us that wants to become significant. Everyone has something that wants to have self-expression. Now, we often see people who are in unfortunate circumstances, and they seem to be subservient, and they seem to cower, and they look fearful, they look disadvantaged in many ways. Now, even when people are in this situation, we can be sure that that is not the ideal state of any human being. Why? Leadership is inherent in every human, 7.2 billion of them currently on the face of the earth. Now, every human being was born to be a leader. But the unfortunate thing is that most leaders will not emerge. Most leaders will not emerge. And that is unfortunate because everyone is disadvantaged by the non-emergence of every other person that's meant to emerge as a leader. Now, if we say everyone emerging as a leader, somehow in our minds, then there seems to be some conflict, because we'll think if everyone emerges as a leader, then will there be any follower who is going to do the bidding of the leader if everyone is a leader? Now, that consideration or that thought in our minds is probably the result of the impact of our culture. The contemporary culture that we have says that there is one leader and then a plethora and a sea of followers. There's nothing wrong with following, but it's just to understand that followership is meant to lead into leadership. I'm going to I won't get ahead of myself. Let's take it in sequence. Now, you were born to lead, but you must become a leader. In other words, leadership potential is in everyone, but potential is not what we pay for. We actually pay for the potential that makes it up to realization. Can I also welcome all of our friends that are joining us? And as you join us, you may want to mute your mic. You may want to mute your mic, or you may want to actually remove your video if you want. Otherwise, you're fine. And the good thing tonight is that we all actually can see ourselves face to face. We can share interaction. So there is an advantage in the disadvantage. Even though we started late, I just want to say thank you for being patient and for staying through all that with us. That is a leadership trait, and I honor you for that. Okay, back to our topic. You were born to lead, but that is only potential. The potential must become realized. We must release that potential. Okay, looking at that, we can look at an agricultural farmland, and in that whole area, you can see that there are a lot of seeds. Sometimes and a farmland can focus on just one seed. So you can have a plantation of maize. Now, if you take a grain of maize, a grain of maize in your hand, you will see that that seed has the potential to become a plant that brings up a lot more seeds. However, that seed must go through a process to become the plant that brings up other seeds. Think about any other seed: mango, orange, pineapple, what have you. The fact is this: every seed must go through a process to become the plant or the tree. In the same way, even though everyone is born with the seeds of leadership, everyone is born with the potential of leadership, but we must go through a process to become. And what become is so instructive. We actually go through a process to be what we are by potential. Now, I want to go on to say this, that if I say that everyone is a leader by potential and everyone is on his or her way to becoming the leader is born to be, your question, as I asked the other time, is who follows if everyone is a leader? Well, let's attempt to answer that. When we say everyone is a leader, what we mean is this: everyone is born to be a leader, not over people, but in an area of gifting. Everyone is born to be a leader, not over people, but in an area of gifting. And that's because leadership emanates from the discovery of the unique gift that you have been given to serve the world. I can say that for the umpteenth time because this really is the secret to each one becoming himself or herself. And our inability to find the unique gifting or the unique ability within us is the reason why most of the time we get overlooked, we get ignored, and we become insignificant. So leadership, the fact that everyone is a leader is a reality and is also a process. Now, when we talk about leadership, leadership is a difficult thing, and in fact, it's very complex. If you take a look at our modern world, we will see that whether you look across Europe or the America, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, wherever you look, you will see that there's a lot of challenges that we face day to day, politically, economically. Europe, for example, is just about on the borderline of recession. Now, think about the United Kingdom. Recently, there was the political decision to leave Europe, and that has a lot of ramifications that we're still going through. And you will see that it will take a great leadership to really help navigate that course to get to a place where every citizen feels a sense of security, if you like, security not just politically but economically and in most other ways. In fact, culturally, socio-culturally, and in other ways. So we see that when we talk about leadership, it is not an option. It is not something to say, look, that doesn't apply to me. Leadership applies to you and to me simply because it is our potential and it must become a priority to turn potential into actualization. So let me quickly give us a few thinking about leadership, which is that trapped in every follower is a hidden leader. Trapped inside of you and myself is a hidden leader. The unfortunate thing, like I said the other time, is that we may never see that leader trapped within the individual simply because of a number of things: culture, and the decision to become what we are. Secondly, every human being was created and designed to lead and wired to dominate in an area of gifting. I say in an area of gifting, I don't mean over people, because that's the misconception that we have when it comes to leadership. We think that it has to be exercised over people. No. Leadership in its truest form is the ability to dominate an area of gifting, not people. Number three, leadership potential resides in every human. If you want to make a note, I will encourage you to do so, because these key points are so important. Leadership potential resides in every human. And number four, you are born to lead, but you must become a leader through a process. I think I'm inclined to say we can actually have some interaction on all these points. So what I would do tonight, and I feel a bit emboldened to do it, is to actually allow you to make comment on any area that resonates with you. So I'm going to go through the points, and I will give you a brief 2 minutes to just make an input if you like to. Now, you are born to lead, but you must become a leader through a process. Now, process already implies the place of time, the place of effort, the place of dedication, and other factors in seeing that potential becomes actualized. Number five, true leadership is self-manifestation. Let's put it this way. All that a mango seed wants to be is to become the tree that everyone goes to get a seed, to get the mango fruit. All that a lion cub wants to be is to be the mature lion that is equipped for hunting and passing down the gene into future generations. So true leadership is self-manifestation. We say this because if leadership is trapped inside each one, then the one thing we want to do is to uncover, to discover what is hidden inside and to manifest it. So, self-discovery and decision are prerequisite to self-manifestation. When I say self-manifestation, I don't mean carrying oneself about in inappropriate ways. I'm talking about bringing out what is hidden, what is trapped inside. Right. Now, a mango seed simply wants to become a mango tree. Period. A mango seed just wants to become a mango tree. Okay. Now, number six, you may discover your leadership gift, but never develop the courage and confidence to become yourself. Now, this is one of the factors that inhibits us from actually becoming what we have discovered. What happens most of the time is that as we begin to go through a process of introspection and begin to really discover things about ourselves, most of the time we find certain things about ourselves that make us afraid. Now, we are afraid because what we find is totally different from what our culture tells us. It's different from what we see around us. It's different from what the voices that are dominant in our lives say about us. So that's why most of the time when we begin to find ourselves, we become afraid. But fear is not enough reason to not become ourselves. Let me put it this way, that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to go ahead in spite of fear. So you may discover your leadership gift, but you must decide and you must generate the courage and confidence to become yourself. So True leadership is not control, but service. True leadership is not control. That's why I say that true leadership is not about people. Most of the time when we talk about leadership, the first thing we want to do is to uh, quickly look for someone to exercise authority over. No, that's not true leadership. True leadership is not first and foremost about people. True leadership is first and foremost about self, about unearthing what is inside for the service of humanity. Now, leadership is not about power. Now, saying this, I can almost imagine that there will be a few conflicts in what we are familiar with. True leadership is not about control. It is about service. True leadership is not about power, but about empowering others to become themselves. So, most of the time, we can point to people and say, oh, that is a powerful man, that's a powerful woman. But hardly do we say, that is a man that empowered me. In other words, the examples we see around us, they conflict with these very ideas that leadership is about empowering others not to become yourself, but to become themselves. Now, leadership again is not about manipulation, but about inspiration. Because leadership in its truest form is really about inspiration. Inspiration happens when people choose to respect you, not because you demand it, but because they see your consistency, they see how you overcome challenges, they see your ability to persevere and to progress in spite of adversity. They see your ability to honor people, to give value to people consistently. And the key there is consistently. Now, on the other hand, when we talk about manipulation, that is the process, if I can call it that way. Manipulation is really trying to influence the will of another person through some other means other than through their own personal submission of their will. And that's the difference. Each time you try to influence some other people's will, to make them do things against their will, then we have manipulation, or you can have coercion. So, but that is not inspiration. And where there is no inspiration, there cannot be true leadership. But this is also true that when you cannot inspire, then the only thing you have at your disposal is manipulation. So leadership is not about controlling people. Leadership is not about controlling people. No. Leadership is about empowering them. Leadership is not about controlling people, but about finding purpose for living. Now, I say purpose because the key to leadership really is purpose. Purpose is the discovery of why you are. Purpose is the discovery. No, purpose is the reason why you are. When you then discover purpose, then you have started on that journey to really becoming a leader. Why? There can be no leader without purpose. Leadership is impossible without purpose. Leadership, let me say it again, is impossible without purpose. So as a group of people who come together on this platform, the one thing that must become priority to us is to discover why. Why am I here? Sometimes we define ourselves by our profession. So if somebody says, who are you? You say, I'm an engineer. You say, I'm an engineer. I'm a great engineer. If somebody says, who are you? You say, I'm a doctor. Somebody says, who are you? We say, oh, I'm an accountant. No, that's not who you are. That's not you. That is your profession. Purpose is finding what precedes your profession. Purpose is finding the name you had before you were christened. Right. So, leadership is about purpose rather than people. Why? If we make the pursuit of people a priority, then automatically we have to resort to ways to manipulate them. But if you look at people that focus on their purpose, you find out that in time people begin to seek them. So what to do is not to seek people, but to seek purpose. Leaders are generated by a sense of purpose. Something that you discover that I must deliver this to the earth. And your purpose is always related to a problem that must be solved. Now, we can say this over and over again because it's really the key to true leadership. Now, leaders are generated by a sense of purpose, not by making people subjected to them. Now, leaders or leadership is about becoming rather than doing. It's good to do things, but becoming yourself is actually more important than doing things, because in becoming yourself, then what you do becomes natural. A fish is simply becoming a fish, and swimming becomes natural. Right. So if we define leadership in this fashion, what does it take to move towards becoming what we are by potential? What does it take to translate leadership potential into leadership reality? Now, I'm going to give a few thoughts that will be of help. Now, you remember that I said that one of the reasons why we don't become the leader that we're born to be is because of the influence of our culture. Most of the time, we are in cultures that stifle the release of our potentials. In other words, by the time you begin to show yourself, everyone begins to doubt you, and they think, "Who do you think you are?" They begin to wonder, "Oh, what do you make of yourself?" And that becomes a problem. So most people, out of fear, they choose to bury who they are. They choose to bury their potential because of fear, and a fear that affects the confidence and the courage that is within them. Now, let's begin to find the answers. To become a leader that you already are by potential, realize this, that most true leaders declare independence from the culture that produced them. Most true leaders decide to declare independence, because when you want to become everybody, then what we have signed up for is a life of insignificance. If you go to a shop and you want to buy some, maybe you will go to a clothes store, a store where they sell clothes. Now, what you find is that the clothes that are put on sale are the ones that they have a lot of, the value is reduced. They don't have as much value as the ones that have just come out newly. So what I'm saying is this: once we decide to become the true leader that we are born to be, then we must declare independent from a culture. Culture, as we said over the last 2 weeks or so, is that whole set of parameters that influences the growth and development of an organism. So, to become a leader, we must say, okay, all the factors that seek to stifle me, I have to come out of them. Now, most leaders have to leave their environment to become themselves. There's a man that come to mind. His name is Mo. Mo apparently was born in a palace, but in as Mo began to have introspection, he began to look to really question himself and say, "Look, there's something that is different about me." And in time, the environment that Mo was trained in became, became uncomfortable for him. So Mo had to leave that environment in order to become Mo. He had to leave his environment to become himself, and then came back to influence the environment. The truth is this: if you are unwilling to leave your current environment, you cannot become yourself. Now, when I say environment, I don't mean places. I don't mean packing our bags from our town, from our cities. No. If, for example, let me mention what I mean by environment. Unless our mental environment changes, then everything remains the same. In other words, if we do not change the input that goes into our minds, then we remain exactly the same. We remain where we are. A good example again was this. A group of people were just becoming an imagination, and they were traveling from part of Africa into some other place. Now, because they were so used to where they are in Egypt, apparently, they, their familiarity was threatening their future. They were so familiar with a lifestyle in the country that they were before. So when they were asked to go ahead to form another country, it became a problem. Now, what happened was this: most of them actually perished in the course of that journey. Now, what this means is this: unless you decide to change your mental environment, then you will remain where you are, and the future that you see becomes impossible. Now, I'm not talking about you, I'm saying that in a generic sense. Most leaders decide to defy someone else's expectation of them. See, the reason is this: most people expect you to be just where they want you to be, and that's always below them. They think, okay, this is your definition. I know who you are. I know your number. This is where you are. Now, and that becomes stifling because you're not expected to behave differently from what I think you should be. Leaders are people who decide not to seek approval to act. I don't mean being a rebel, no. I mean, let me use an example. How many times has a bird asked for permission from you to fly? How many times has wind asked for permission to blow? How many times has the fish asked for permission to swim? Okay, the answer is right there. They focus on becoming themselves, not on seeking external motivation and uh, external approval. So leaders are people who decide not to seek your approval to act. Now, leaders are so busy standing out that they don't have time to fit in. They just focus on becoming themselves. Look at it. Think about our just natural vegetation. The Iroko tree, the mahogany, all of them just focus on being who they are. And we seek them because of their difference. Now, difference is not a problem necessarily. Difference is actually the container of value. Because if you are everyone else, then you become unnecessary. If you are in a group and everyone is the same, then only one person is needed because you all are the same. Leaders understand that the cultural environment prioritizes conformity over difference. So difference is not a problem. The environment, the cultural environment that you and I grow in, develop in, prioritizes, wants you to conform rather than to become the different person. And it's a bit ironic because the culture, our environment wants conformity and not difference. Yet we also know that we don't need everybody for everything that we need. For example, we don't need a carpenter if we need medical care. Now, if we want everyone to become a carpenter, then we will have lack in various other places. Okay? Now, I'm going to bring out a few leadership thinking that will also help. And one of them is this: the purpose for true leadership is not to maintain followers. The purpose for true leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders. Why? Followership must end up in something other than followership. The destination of every follower is to become a leader that they are born to be. Okay, now I think we can take some input. Let's have some interaction for the first time. That would be really, really helpful. So if you want to give some input, if any thought has resonated in your mind and you want to share, you want to just give a brief input, why don't you do so at this time? So if something has been boiling in your mind and you want to say something about it, then you can do so, and we can take your input. Right?
Good day, sir.
Good day, EK. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you, sir.
Fantastic. So go on.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate this platform, and I appreciate your various teachings. So I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure everyone else on the platform online today is learning as well.
Thank you.
I really what resonated a lot with me is when you said what you do. When many people ask you, who are you, they immediately say what they do. And I've learned that yes, what you do is not who you are. You might be working at a job,
Yes.
but we also have a work to
Yes.
do. That's your assignment here on earth. So the key, you might be working at a job on the way to discovering your work, which is your life assignment. But the key is to discover your work. That's
Yes.
the key. That's the key, I believe. And your work, meaning what God has placed you here to do, that assignment that God has placed you here to deliver. So I just wanted to share that briefly. So yes.
Thank you so much. That's so very instructive. Thank you very much. The truth of the matter is this: your job is not a problem. Your job is preoccupation on the way to doing your work. So your job preoccupies you. In fact, your job is training for your work, because some of the skills you need on your work are presently contained in your job. So the key is to value the job and maximize it to your advantage on the way to becoming yourself. So there was one of the greatest leaders that ever lived had to work in a joinery company, in a carpentry company, before he stepped out to actually exhibit and deliver his leadership influence. So thank you very much, Ike, for that insight. If anyone wants to go forward, you can just do so. Just beckon and I would allow you to come in. Whilst you're putting your thoughts together, I'm just going to go through a few of these very quickly. Can I also say thank you very much to everyone for your patience. We ran into some technology issues, and so we had to use an alternative means to come in. But you persisted, you were patient, and you show that you have great resilience. So I honor you and appreciate you for that. So let me quickly go over a few other thoughts, and then we'll just take input and we'll close. Now, leadership thinking. The purpose of true leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders. That is why everyone goes through training. You have apprentices in training. The purpose of apprenticeship is not to keep apprentices, but to develop people who can go into certain vocations and do even greater work. So true leaders have the passion to make other people great and succeed. In fact, True leaders want to make people greater than themselves. And that's the purpose of mentoring and coaching. You want to help people to become better than what they presently are and to even do a better job than you, in fact. So that is one of the key inputs in leadership development. Now, again, true leaders feel secure in themselves. They are not threatened by the emergence and greatness of other people. In other words, look, just look at the natural world again. I like talking about natural world because most of the lessons we need to learn are actually in the natural world. So look at the sea. Think about how many organisms, how many animals are in the sea. The whale, the orca, the uh, seahorse, and so on and so forth. And yet, all of them live in the ocean. So, true leaders feel secure in themselves. They are not threatened by your emergence and your greatness. So, true leaders have a healthy self-esteem. True leaders, therefore, because they feel secure in themselves, their priority is to help other people achieve greatness. Why? Because a true leader knows that one is too small in number to be significant. A true leader knows that one can never multiply. So a true leader wants to pull people to their platform so that other people can experience their ambience, their environment, and be inspired to become themselves. So now the issue is this: most people never manifest their leadership potential, as I said the other time, due to fear and the pressure to conform to societal norm, and of course due to the cultural expectation and the education of the culture. I think I've said this a few times, and it's because it's just so very important. I'm aware we're only a minute to 10 o'clock, so I want to honor your time, even though we're spending a bit lesser time today together. So if you want to uh, just contribute, say something, this would be a great time to do so. And let me say this: leaders learn to talk. Don't forget, we said everyone is a leader by potential, but everyone becomes a leader through decision and through the courage to become themselves. Courage means fear is present, but I choose to move forward in spite of the fear. So, in other words, courage is not absence of fear. Courage is the determination, the decision to move forward in spite of fear. So, I would like to hear from you because there is so much wisdom inside of each one that you wonder why you have been denying the world of what is inside of you. And one of the reasons why most people do not actually cut themselves, as we are saying, is because the culture that we were born into expects you to be quiet, expects you to be seen but not heard. The culture expects you to be just buried under a lot of low self-esteem, poor self-concept, poor self-image. But the reason why we have this kind of platform is to correct uh, all of that to a great extent. Um, so the platform is yours. You can contribute. You can say something to other leaders. Why not? Go ahead.
Oh, Ike is back again.
Okay, welcome, Ike.
So I remember at some time in this call you mentioned that leaders are not, it's not manipulation, and
Yes.
I wrote a comment at that time. I wrote purpose pulls people naturally.
Yes.
When a leader has a clear purpose, as you said, I
Yeah.
believe it pulls people naturally. You won't even necessarily even need force or need much compelling words.
Yeah.
But as soon as these followers find their personal vision in this
Yes.
corporate vision, they are naturally pulled in. I can
Absolutely.
use our church as an example. The church is a globally expanding church, globally expanding because many people are finding themselves in the church. Many
Mm.
ministers are finding their ministry within the church. As a result,
Okay.
they're compelled in.
Good.
And that's just a little example. And also, and as I also wanted to add as well, as you said, that leadership is not keeping people at a level that, you know, lower than you, but a leader strives to push people above themselves because they're confident that they already have their seat at the top and no one else can unseat them, because everyone has a seat at the top in life. The sky is big enough for every bird to fly.
Can I chip something in there?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, a true leader wants to give up his or her seat.
Oh, wow. Wow.
A true leader is not interested in keeping a seat, because a true leader is aware that there is more higher grounds to go to. So a true leader wants to give up. True leadership is not in perpetuation of one's title or one's position. Exactly, that's what I'm going to. True leadership is not in maintenance of position, but in giving up of position to open new grounds. So a true leader is a compass holder. A true leader looks at what lands we can cultivate, what lands we can open. So a true leader will develop someone to take over his seat while he go forward to open new ground.
I agree, sir. I agree.
Because true leadership is not about position. No. As a matter of fact, a position is a temporary opportunity given to a leader to prove himself, to prove his credibility before he's kicked out of it. So true leaders know that a position is irrelevant to where they're going. They don't. A true leader focuses on its purpose. A purpose. Because if a position defines your value, then you are truly not valuable. Position does not make a leader. A leader makes the position. And because a leader makes a position, the leader is willing to give it up to make another position. But the position is never the objective. The leader is just going in fulfillment of his purpose.
Oh, I agree. I agree, sir. I agree.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ike. Every other person, all of our leaders, please come in and just share with us, and we can round up in another 2-3 minutes, if that's okay. I'm aware we are 4 minutes past 10, so let's just have 1 or 2 comments. Let me say a very warm welcome this evening to my wonderful pastor, Pastor Dari, and to all of my friends, Ekes, to Elizabeth, to Lami, to Bode, to Adeshewa, to Sam, and everyone that's there with you. I know that you don't take this lightly. I know that it's always a pleasure to be with us, as it is a pleasure for us to always host you. So in the absence of a comment, I think we should round off here because of our time. Let's really honor our time, because time is all that we have. Time is life. So let's honor time, and if there's no comment, I will want to ask her to round up. We will continue and we'll give this a proper stretch the next time. This is actually a series, and the objective, let me define the objective of this series. The objective is really for each one to be, let me use the word guardedly, provoked enough to say, all right, let's wait a minute. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What is my gift? To say there is life after my profession, there is life after my job, so let's find my work. Why? You can retire from your job. And in fact, people who hold jobs always talk about retirement. People who talk about work or their purpose, the work is the fulfillment of purpose. People who look at that never talk about retirement, because you do it until you can't do it no more. So let's keep this in mind. I would really like to see all of us really stepping up to the places that our purpose has preordained for each one. So thank you very much for being with us tonight, and I really honor you. Thank you again for being patient tonight. I think we would probably just move technology because of the issues we have with the other one. So thank you very much, And I hope you have a good evening and see you next week. God bless you. Have a good night. Thank you. Let's just say thank you and bye bye to all of ourselves. So we can unmute our mics and just say thank you and bye bye.
I'm
Thank
blessed.
you all.
Have a great night, sir. God bless you.
You too. Thank
Good
you
night.
very much, Ike. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. You can unmute your mic if you want to. This is backstage now, so we can have interaction.
Sam, where are you, Sam?
The broadcast is officially.
Sam, you're not saying anything. Sam.
Hello.
Sam.
Hello. Everybody, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I would like to say that the measurement of success of a true leader is the amount of leaders he makes out of his followers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insight, Bode. Thank you. Wow,
that's true.
That's amazing.
Sam.
You should put that, but you should put that on your page, on all of your social media, so that it's the amount of people you make, you help to become themselves. Yeah. Ekes, how are you doing? Elizabeth, how are you doing?
Sam.
Okay. Well, Sam is not willing to talk, so that's okay. Don't forget, Sam has to be inspired to talk.
It's true.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And God bless. Thank you. There is Sam. There is another day. Okay. Elizabeth. Okay. All right. Good night. Have a good evening. God bless.
Okay, Sam's microphone is having some challenges.